Good morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever time of day you find yourself in, and welcome to another edition of Mam Gaming. So today we're going to have a breakdown of the classes available in World of Warcraft. This would be useful if you're new to the game and thinking of your first character. What do you go for? There's so much choice. Or if you're an existing player and you're just not sure what to have as a second character known as an alt, well, I'm hoping to help there. Of course, this is just a brief overview of the classes. The golden rule is play what you like at the end of the day, but we'll go through a few things now, and we'll go through each class, explain them, the specifications available, different roles they go through, everything like that. So I'm going to pop myself down in this corner. There we go. Well, I'm slightly off the corner because I didn't want to cover over anything there. So we'll go into the game. Now, when you first start the game, if you're a new player, it'll probably take you to the character creation screen, which will be something like this. And on this, you can choose your character. Of course, you can go male or female. Each class and race has male and female, of course. And you can choose your races down here. There's two factions. There's Alliance. They can be seen as your classic kind of heroes going on an adventure. Think about the elves and dwarves on Lord of the Rings, that type of thing. Gnomes, humans, that sort of thing, And then you got the Horde here also, which would be kind of the other side of things like that. So you've got the undead, orcs, trolls, goblins, that type of thing. The Pandaren, they're like massive pandas, basically. They can be either of these factions. So just to begin with, two different factions. I won't concentrate on the races, it's more about the classes this, but not all of the races can do all of the classes. However, what I find is best is I kind of pick the class that I want to go with. So for example, on this, he's a dwarf. He can't be a druid. I just go, if I wanted to be a druid, I would either be a Kultiran, Night Elf, or Worgen for Alliance, or Helmet Tauren, Troll, or Zandalari Troll on the Horde. As you can see, if you mouse over them, it shows you what you can be there, kind of thing. Right then, some of these races, aren't available because they need to be unlocked, but these races to the far left and right, they don't need to be unlocked. You get them when you begin. So with that done there, yes, always pick class I find is best, and then if the class you want isn't of the race, find a race that you want to go with. They all have different specializations and different things that they can do, but in essence, just play what you want. So to begin with, there's three types of role that each class can perform there. So first of all, there's the tank. Now the tank is basically there to soak up damage and has quite a high health pool, and they're generally used more in a dungeon setting, although they can be leveled with as well. Just takes a bit longer. And they're there, they're the ones kind of taking the hits, and they're kind of keeping the enemies kind of concentrated on themselves, so that they get the hits and not their more fragile counterparts. So that's basically what a tank role is. Where it's come from, I believe tank, it'd just be a big tank of health. That's speculation there, but it certainly fits in there. So tank equals that. Then you've got DPS. Now that stands for damage per second. They're basically the damage dealers, and they are the most prevalent role in World of Warcraft. This can be ranged, or they can deliver the damage close up, depending on their role. But yes, they generally deal the damage there. They're not as hardy or tanky, as I like to call it, as the tanks. And then after that, you've got the healers, and it speaks for itself. Basically, they heal people when they get hit and so on with healing spells and the like. Generally can be quite fragile, although not in all cases. But yes, so those are the three different roles there. So you've got tank, DPS, which means damage dealer. DPS stands for damage per second, and healers. Now then, let's go through these classes here. So let's begin with, I'll just switch to human here. So we'll start off with a warrior there. They're your classic kind of fantasy fighter, you know, a person who wears armor and swings around swords and axes, that type of thing. A warrior can be tank or melee damage, not good with range, although they can. They do have abilities where they can close quickly with the enemy and charge into combat, that type of thing. They have one tank role and two melee roles, specific to certain things. One is more suited towards PvE content, so players versus the environment. The other one is PvP content, so player versus player is a bit better. But both the DPS roles would be great in leveling. You can level as tank, of course, but it does take a little bit longer. So that's what they've got there. Next, move on to the hunter. They are mainly DPS, so they're mainly damage dealers. But well, in fact, that's all they do, I should say. And they have two specs which deal damage at range, and one spec which deals damage fairly close up, but it's more of a hybrid spec, really. So the one spec they have that deals damage is called Beast Mastery. That allows them to use pets to do damage. That's something else that hunters can do as well. They deal damage from they're mainly seen as ranged damage dealers, but they do have pets that can fight on their behalf as well. So you have companions that come with you and help you out, as you can see with this this wolf here. So they've got those there. So one's called Beast Mastery, where the pets deal the majority of the damage. Another one's Marksmanship, where the person's kind of a bit more of a marksman. You know, they're the ones that deal damage with their abilities and their bow and arrow and so on. The melee spec, or the close-up spec, is known as Survival. There aren't a great deal of them on the servers, I've got to say, but yeah, it's kind of a close-up version of it where the pet and the person is dealing damage as well, you know. So that's hunters. They do perform very well on the meters and so on, and they do have a lot of what they call utility. So they can play dead if need be. So if a monster's attacking them, then they can just play dead and the monster will go away. That's the idea anyway, in most circumstances. Next we have another one that is entirely damage dealing, and this is completely ranged, is the mage. If you can imagine kind of your wizard chucking fireballs, fire and brimstone and everything on people, and that's basically what a mage is. They have three specs for dealing damage at range, so there's it's based on different elements. So you've got frost, which is all about the ice and slowing enemies up, that type of thing. You've got fire, which is all about burning things down, and arcane, which is your general magic damage kind of thing. They wear cloth, so they are quite squishy, but you know they do deal a lot of damage, but they offset that by not being as able to take damage as anybody else, you know. Next up we have the rogue. Now they are mainly melee damage, so close-up damage there. If you think about your classic kind of assassin skulking in the shadows and creeping around, dropping on people, you know, the kind of ninja type of archetype, then that would be your rogue. They have three specs for dealing the damage. Outlaw, Assassination, and Subtlety. Outlaw is more kind of a swashbuckler type, pirate type person. You know, they throw hooks about and swing around from chandeliers, that type of thing. The others are a bit more about, you know, creeping around and getting behind people and kind of, you know, taking them away. You know, you can imagine somebody just going, and they're gone. So that's the kind of thing for rogues there. If you like that kind of playstyle, then that's great. They can also pick locks as well, which is sought after trait. There not many can pick locks, and they can disarm traps, so there's a bit of utility there. So next we'll move on to the priest. So they have a healing spec, they have a hybrid healing stroke damage spec, and they do have a complete damage spec, a range damage spec, of course. The healing spec they have is holy. They do have a damage stroke healing spec, so they do healing by some damage, which is known as discipline, and the complete damage spec is known as shadow. They use shadow magic to throw bolts and turn into fiends and all sorts of things like that. So yeah, again, they're quite squishy because they're cloth based armor on them, but yeah, they can be quite good with things like that. They can make things levitate, they can bring people back to life, etc. So that gives you an idea of the priest there. Now the warlock kind of deal with the demonic elements. They've gone over to the dark side basically. They deal damage. They've got 3 damage specs ranged, and they do have their own pets sometimes, which you may have seen popping out around there, where they can summon demons to help them. Pets much like a hunter would have. Yeah, they have got a lot of utility as well, so they can resurrect somebody while in combat, bring them back to life. They can create demonic gateways, so you can basically have a gateway between one place and the other. They can teleport across. There's all sorts of things that they can do like that, so quite a good spec. They can summon people. They can create a summoning stone for people to be summoned in. Yeah, they're quite good. Again, a cloth wearer. So yep, that's your warlock. The next your paladin, it's a bit similar to a warrior, but if you think kind of a crusading knight, that type of thing, so they're warriors of the light, or holy warriors, that type of thing. They can do all the specs apart from ranged melee, so they can tank, they can do damage, and they can heal. So they have 3 specs for each there. Yeah, that's what they do. They are quite strong, so they are very good. They wear plate armor, much like the warrior would, and can be quite good at things there. Quite a bit of utility. All the specs can heal to some extent, so quite useful if things go pear-shaped. Yeah, and they're a good choice. They are actually. If you're not sure of what to go with, it might be worth going for one of the classes which has several specs, such as the paladin there. Druid. Now then, I have to swap over to a night elf for druid because there's only certain classes that can be a druid. Now these really are a jack of all trades. So they can tank, they can heal, and they can do ranged or melee DPS. They turn into different animals to do different things. So as a tank, they'll turn into a massive bear. As DPS, if they're close up, they might turn into a big cat to deal damage close up. Or at range, they may turn into what sounds weird, but it's like a massive kind of owl monster type thing, known as slang is known as boomkin. So they can deal magic damage at range, cast spells and so on. And they can heal also. They generally turn into a walking tree for that, which is a bit of a sight. But yeah, they can do it all basically there. Very good with different things. They can resurrect people in battle if they've died. Yeah, general all-purpose class. If you're unsure what to be, where to be, etc., then just roll a druid and you'll be fine. You'll be able to do anything you wish, really, if you try to talent into it and so on. Shaman. So there's only certain races that can be a shaman. I'll go Draenei for this one. And so for the shaman, they kind of use the elements towards their to deal damage. They can do a range damage, close-up damage, melee damage, or heal. And they can use totems, which you'd have seen then, to further augment their abilities. They wear mail armor, which is not good as plate, but it can still stop quite a few hits coming through. They can't tank. They can only do ranged or close-up damage or heal, and they generally kind of do that pretty well. You know, I know they're quite strong healing at the moment. Another multi-spec class is the monk. If you think about kind of your classic martial arts thing, think Bruce Lee, Enter the Dragon, that type of thing. They can do all those types of things there. Generally use close combat techniques and martial arts to get through the day. 3 different specs. So you've got a tanking spec, which is quite good actually. They do kind of stagger damage they take over a period of time. There is a damage dealing spec, close-up damage dealing spec for these, and we do have a healing spec as well, which does quite good healing. I believe these wear leather armor, so it can be a bit squishy, but they use their agility and so on to get out of situations more than heavy armor. Now then, so we've gone through the main classes there. The next 2 are known as hero classes, so these begin at a higher level. Demon Hunter, so you need to be either a Night Elf or Blood Elf to be one of those. I believe they start at level 8, and they are, as it says on the tin really, they hunt demons. Very mobile class. They can get around the places quickly. Very good damage on a large number of creatures, known as AoE damage or area of effect. And they only have 2 specs compared to about 3 on the others, so they can tank or they can deal damage, generally close-up damage. And so they're the 2 main things there. Then we have Death Knight. Now, Death Knights are kind of the opposite to a paladin. I like to think of them really. They're kind of a mix of the Black Knight and Darth Vader, something like that. They can tank or do melee damage at close damage, and they have 2 melee damage specs and 1 tanking spec. So that's a quick rundown of the classes there. Now I'll just demonstrate, as I was saying, it's best sometimes to pick the class and then the race, because you might find that if you're not too bothered about which race you want to go for, you might find some give you a bit of an edge. For example, if I wanted to be a Beast Mastery Hunter, that's where my pets do the majority of the damage, then I think orcs, as you can see, damage done by pets increased. So you may want to pick an orc if you wanted that on there. There's all sorts of things there. That's just an example of what I meant before. So I hope that kind of gives you a rundown of different things there. Like, subscribe, and do the notification bell if you want to see more videos. What do you think of this video? I'm open to any kind of feedback. Write it in the comments below. And until next time, I'll see you. Goodbye.